What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cap Show. We have the Final Four, baby. I love it. Shout out to Florida Atlantic. Against all odds, the Cinderella team. I love it. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw Florida Atlantic in the Final Four. And not to mention San Diego State as well in the Final Four. I love it. And this is one of the main reasons why I didn't fill out a bracket was because I knew something Fugazi was going to happen. I knew a lot of the number one seeds were just not going to make it this year. I mean, they had Alabama as a number one seed. I knew for sure they were not going to make it. Purdue, another number one seed, they lost against a 16 seed. The list goes on and on. I just think it's a lot of overhyped this year. That's why I stayed off of it. I was like, dude, I just cannot do it. Like, straight up. But Florida Atlantic, man, led by their head coach, Dusty May. He's from Indiana. I love it, dude. I think what he's got for Florida Atlantic, man, it's just that camaraderie. It's the vibes there. It's just how they play together. It's like they've been playing their whole lives together, all the way from third grade all the way up to AU, now to D1. That's what it feels like, right? When we watch the Florida Atlantic team, they battle back. They have a big guy and a 7-footer that's great as well. I think they have the recipe to win it all. And what's crazy is about Florida Atlantic right now, they're going against San Diego State. Shout out to San Diego State coming back and getting the dub. This is what March Madness is about. Seeing the underdog teams come up, seeing them, rise above adversity, and I love that, dude. So shout out to San Diego State one time for the one time, and then not to mention UConn. I think UConn right now is the clear favorite to win it all. I really do. I mean, their first 14 games of the regular season, they won them, and they didn't even trail 1 second of those first 14 games. Then obviously they're in the Big East, which I do think is probably the hardest conference in college basketball. Absolutely. I mean, so many great teams, so many great players in the Big East. It's crazy, right? But UConn, I would for sure say, hey, if you guys bet $1 million right now, I would definitely say, hey, that's a smart bet to put the millie on UConn. They've won 4 national championships, their men's. It's awesome. 1999, 2004, 2011, and 2014, which they did beat Butler in 2011. But it's really great. Obviously, UConn, they have the better talent, the better recruits overall. But, this is the March Madness. I mean, it really comes down to which players are hitting their shots, which teams are playing better defense, taking charges, getting the 50-50 loose balls, which teams are doing that, and I look at Florida Atlantic, man, they're the 9th seed, dude, to make the Final Four. They've never made a Final Four appearance before. It's amazing. I mean, they beat Memphis, they beat FDU, they beat Tennessee, and they beat Kansas State this year. And not to mention Florida Atlantic, they've only lost 3 games this year in their whole season. Like 3 games. And the second game was their first game that they missed of the regular season to Ole Miss. They lost to UAB, and they lost to Middle Tennessee State, and that's it. That's the only teams that Florida Atlantic's lost to. So really, if Florida Atlantic, dude, they could easily be undefeated right now, going into the Final Four with all the momentum. So obviously, I'm rooting for Florida Atlantic. They're the 9th seed, never been. San Diego State's making their first Final Four appearance in school history. That is huge for San Diego State. Like, that's unheard of. I don't even think, obviously the fans rooting for them, but besides the non-San Diego State fans, like, you never would have said, yeah, dude, San Diego State's going to run into the Final Four this year. Everybody would have laughed at you and said, are you crazy? But it really did happen. So shout out to San Diego State. They got the job done. To me, I love it, dude. I love to see the underdogs, man. I love to see them, go above adversity and just come back and just bounce back from it, dude. So I love it, dude. It's part of March Madness. I don't want to always see the number one team win every single time, year in and year out, not to mention, but, and shout out to the Miami Hurricanes. I mean, they came out of the blue. And I thought Indiana was going to take that side. Obviously, they matched up against IU, but Miami right now is probably the best looking team left. I mean, they got the best guards in the country. I mean, they're quick, they're fast, they're explosive. They do all types of things. So I think in the Miami Hurricanes right now, they advanced, they beat Texas. It's awesome. And I think, Miami, they were in the Elite Eight last year, and they lost this year. They played Texas, they beat Texas fair and square. In the Miami, dude, like, I'm telling you what, like, right now, like, Miami should be feeling great. They beat IU, they beat Houston, they beat Texas, they beat Drake. I mean, it's crazy. And they lost in the ACC championship game against Duke, but at the end of the day, or excuse me, in the semifinal, but at the end of the day, Miami right now, they're in the Final Four, and they have the players to really win it all. Absolutely, and it starts with one of their guards, Pack. He's from freaking Indiana, dude. Went to Lawrence Central. I wish IU would have had Pack. Because if IU had Pack right now, I do think IU would have won that game. Absolutely. And then they got Wong, another great Isaiah Wong, another great point guard that the U has, and he's the difference maker. Number 2, I think what's great about him is he gets separation from the opponents. He can get up any shot he wants. He can isolate, do different things. I mean, they have so many great players as well. So I think right now, Miami, what they have going, dude, it's something special, dude. So I wouldn't even be mad if you said Miami's going to win it. But obviously Miami's going to match up against UConn, and I think the winner of the Miami-UConn obviously is going to be the clear favorite to win the national championship this year. I mean, that's just how it is. But right now, it's March Madness. Which team is going to hit their threes? Which team is going to capitalize on the other team's mistakes? That's what March Madness is all about, and we can kind of, feel some of the players' pressure as well, where it's like the team's starting to feel pressure. They were up 13, now all of a sudden, now it's tied up, and we saw that in the Texas-Miami game just, literally 10 minutes ago, where it was like Texas is up at halftime, and they got a comfortable lead. They're up 13. I think maybe they were up at 15 at one point, but regardless, Miami battled back, and they weren't getting the right calls, for Miami, but that's no excuse. The difference between a champion and non-champion is the champion's just going to overcome it. He's not going to complain all the time about the bad calls that they're getting. You're not getting the fair shake. You're not getting the right hand, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, Miami came back, and they won this game and stole it from Texas. They did. And Texas came out in the first half hot, dude. Completely hot, where it's like, hey, this is what we're going to do, this and that. But I'm telling you, I love it, dude. I love the March Madness. And we see, like I said, no number 1 seeds. This is the first time ever no number 1 seeds are competing in the Elite 8, not to mention the Final 4. That's crazy. First time ever in history, dude. All the number 1s are gone, dude. Just completely wiped off the map, dude. We saw that with Purdue. And I'm looking at Coach Painter and thinking, dude, did he give it to Edey at the end of the game, the last 10 minutes? And everybody wants to say, oh, was it Coach Painter's fault? Well, whose fault was it? As a job, as a coach, as a head coach of a great program at Purdue, and Matt Painter's been doing great things. It's just like, dude, you got to get it to your 7-footer. I mean, dude, they cannot guard this guy. They cannot guard this guy, but they failed to do it. And that's that. But, the team I'm rooting for, obviously, is Florida Atlantic, dude. I want to see Florida Atlantic. They're a 9th seed. Absolutely, dude. And like I said, they've been coaching great, with Dusty and what he's been able to do. I just think it's great, man. It's awesome for March Madness. I mean, we're getting in the Final Four. We have San Diego State and Florida Atlantic in the Final Four. That is insane to me, dude. Nobody would have predicted this. Straight up. Nobody said, yes, San Diego State is going to be in the Final Four. Same thing as Florida Atlantic. People are like, Florida Atlantic? Some people never even heard of Florida Atlantic before. And now all of a sudden they're like, what? What is going on? This is happening, yes. And then we got the U in UConn. I cannot wait, but I wouldn't be surprised if Miami Hurricanes pull this out. Like I said, the difference between Miami and the rest of the pack right now, the rest of the 3 teams, is they have the best guards. They do. They have the best point guards. They have the best, I think, the more natural shooters as well. I just think overall right now, Miami, they're the quickest team left. Not always the most athletic team wins. You got to play with your mind too. But I just think right now, Miami, they're on a mission right now. So shout out to the Miami basketball. And not to mention the women's basketball, they're playing as well. They can run deep, even though the Indiana women's basketball should have won that game. They didn't call the travel. It is what it is. But, this is what the Final Four is all about. This is what March Madness is all about. Seeing the small dogs end up beating the big dogs. That's what I love most about March Madness, dude, in the Final Four. So the Final Four is set right now, which is crazy. But like I said, man, no Big Ten teams made it to the Final Four this year. Pretty disappointing because I've been on record and I said many times that the Big Ten is the toughest conference in basketball. That and the Big East. I think the Big Ten and the Big East are the toughest conferences, but, Big Ten, they got wiped out. They got wiped out. I mean, dude, it was bad. And I'm looking at Indiana University. They were matched up against Miami, and the energy, they did not match it. And I think why Miami Hurricanes are in the Final Four is because they got that energy. Every single possession for Miami Hurricanes is like a championship possession. Every single play, I'm playing defense. I'm boxing my man out. I'm doing all the fundamentals. I'm not giving up second chance opportunities, even though they did against Texas in the first half. They corrected their mistakes and they battled back and that's why Miami's in it right now, dude. They are in it, and they're in it to win it. So I love it, man. But the moral of this, the whole bracket is definitely Florida Atlantic. Nobody saw this coming. A true underdog and 9th seed. I mean, dude, if they really do win this, win the whole championship, that would be insane, dude. Imagine. I wonder what the money line was at the beginning of the season. All the way back in like October, dude. Like, what is the money line for Florida Atlantic to make it to the Final Four? Not even make it to the championship game or win it. Like, make it to the Final Four, Florida Atlantic. Everybody, all the Florida Atlantic graduates right now are like, dude, I did not see this coming. This is insane. Like, this is against all odds, never giving up. And this is the power of belief. Like, the belief can take you to heights you never even thought would exist, take you to mountains that you never thought you would see. Like, it's great, dude. So, Florida Atlantic, man, I want them to win. Obviously, I do. And I think they're going to match up great against San Diego State. I think both these games in the Final Four are going to be amazing. Absolutely. I cannot wait. Next Saturday could have come faster. But I just think, for the whole bracket this year, I think a lot of people's bracket is busted, dude. Like, that's it, man. Like, nobody really saw this coming, dude. Like, everybody had Houston. And I even thought, when people picked Houston, I was just like, man, I don't know. It was Houston and Purdue that I really wasn't confident in with the number ones this year. It was just like, to me, it was really a no-brainer where it's like, no, I'm not taking Purdue to make it to the Final Four or Houston, dude. And Houston's star point guard was hurt for a while. So that kind of played in a factor where it's like, dude, this is a dumb bet, but it's going to be awesome. But right now we got Florida Atlantic versus San Diego State and then Miami versus UConn. Right now, San Diego State is 2.5-point favorites, 2-point favorites right now, but hey, it doesn't matter. Right now, I would say go money line. Unless the spread's going to really increase overall. But definitely, I still, man, I can't wait for this. This matchup at the Miami-UConn game. I think really that's a coin flip game. I think that's going to come down to who's going to hit the more three-pointers. Who's going to get that second chance opportunity rebounds. That's what that game's going to come down to, the Miami-UConn game. But the Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, I can't wait either. That's the first game on CBS. It's going to be great. It really is. But the moral of the whole bracket and the moral of March Madness is to never give up. Have belief in yourself. And look at Florida Atlantic and San Diego State. Like, nobody had San Diego State make it to the Final Four, dude. And their head coach, Brian Dutcher. I mean, what a play. What a head coach he is. Shout out to Brian. I mean, they beat Charleston. They beat Furman. They beat Bama. And they beat Creighton. Bama was the number 1 seed. They knocked them off. So, shout out to San Diego State. They're here for a reason because they battled back and they never gave up. So, shout out to the head coach, Brian, and they're in it, man. They're in it to win it. So, the Final Four is set in the March Madness. I know a lot of people's bracket is definitely way messed up, but at the end of the day, never give up. And I'm rooting for Florida Atlantic to win it, baby. It's the Clouded with Cav show. Let's go!